Hey everybody, Kent Williams with the 239 Mortgage team again. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something that's very important that's about to be funded again soon, which is the Hometown Heroes program. This is a very significant program. Last year in 2023, it was funded in July, and the money was $100 million. It ran out in 2 months. It's basically up to $35,000 in free money to purchase a primary residence. It used to be just for first responders and people of that type, and now it's anybody that basically works for a Florida corporation. I'll go into more detail as we go, but you really should start applying, and I can help you with that if you want, but you should really start applying with this now because, as they said, once it funds, that money's going to go quick. So if we've got you in the system, you're pre-approved, you're looking at properties, we know what you can afford, and then when that money hits, we can request and reserve the funds needed for your loan. You want to do that as soon as it comes available because, as we said, it's going to go quickly. Now, there are income limits, which it's shown here on the slide, but the household must earn less than 150% of the area's median income. In Collier County, where we are here, it's pretty significant, but I'll go over the different counties and what you can expect. But the high cost counties in 2024 are pretty significant. So let's have a look at that. So here's an example of the county. I don't have every county in Florida, but a majority of them that are pretty significant that we do a lot of business with in. So Miami-Dade County, you can see 154,800. Tampa, Orlando. If you get down to like Fort Lauderdale, 144. Fort Myers, which is here in Lee County, obviously, Cape Coral, is 128. And if you go to the bottom, you can see Collier County is 149,700. It's one of the higher ones. Obviously, that in Miami-Dade. High cost of living here, and then that's the median income. So those are kind of what we're looking at. If there's another county that you're in and it's not on this list, you can always just give me a call, and I'll go over that with you and let you know what that looks like, and then we can calculate from there what you can qualify for and what you'll need. The eligibility requirements on this: it is only available to Florida residents purchasing a primary residence. Now, it says a Florida-based employer. What that means is you could work for a company that's, let's say the headquarters are in Boston or something, but you work in a store or a company that is here in Florida. That's fine. It doesn't have to be headquartered here. As long as you work and live here in Florida, that's fine. Loan can be used together with conventional FHA, VA, or USDA loans, which is great. There are ways to get up to 100% financing based upon the money that's given to you, and then there's other things that we can do. So for instance, if we're doing an FHA loan and the down payment is 3.5%, but we're getting 5% from our Hometown Heroes program, there's 1.5% left over we'll use towards your closing costs. Rough estimate in this area is probably around 3% and it's not just closing costs. I would call it cost to close instead of closing costs, because there are escrows, insurance escrows, and you get your taxes and different things that go into closing, which aren't closing costs, but they're expenses that are involved in the real estate transaction. A good rough estimate for that is like 3%. Now, if you're doing an FHA loan, you can get seller concessions, which is something that is very, very likely nowadays to be able to get. If you go on the interwebs and you're looking at properties, or your realtor is looking at properties, and you see price improvement, that basically says to me seller concession. So if there's a price improvement of $15,000 or $20,000 on a property, believe me, they'll give that to you in a concession other than just lowering the price by $15,000 or $20,000. That's money that you can use towards closing costs and your prepaids. And I can show you how to do that as we go forward. There is a credit restriction, so at least a 640 credit score. It is only for owner-occupied primary residence, so no investment properties, something like that. Any residences, townhomes, FHA-approved condos are eligible. Lot loans and land are not. Now, in Collier and Lee County, there aren't really any FHA-approved condos, although in other counties there are, so we can do anywhere in Florida. No refinance transactions. It's just for a purchase of a primary residence. You must take an approved HUD homebuyer education course. That is not difficult. It's a very simple course that you can take. Active military veterans are exempt from using this if using a VA mortgage. Now, VA mortgages, basically you can do 100% financing. There's no money down on a VA loan. We can use that 5% towards your closing costs, cover all your closing costs. There's going to be some left over we can use just to buy the loan down a little bit, or however we want to use those funds or allocate those funds we can. Great program. So here's some Q&A that I get a lot. So with the maximum amount of Hometown Heroes assistance, what can I expect to receive? It's up to 5% of the mortgage loan amount, up to $35,000. So the max you can receive is between 10 and 35 grand. If you do the calculation, let's say it's a $500,000 property, 5% would be 25,000. That's what you can expect to get for your Hometown Heroes loan. Does the grant need to be repaid? So yes and no. It's a 0% interest-free, loan. So there's basically no payments, which is wonderful. If you keep the loan for 30 years and you pay the house off, guess what? You didn't have to repay it. But if it's 10 or 15 years or whenever down the line, and you've made a bunch of money because it went up and you want to move or whatever the case may be, then that, if it was $25,000 that you got out of the proceeds of the sale, that would get repaid. But you've had no mortgage or any payments on that loan from the down payment assistance, which is great. Hometown Heroes out of funds in 2024. When will the program funding be available again? We don't know the exact date of when it will fund. Last year it was July. I heard at the end of last year it will be as early as March, but we don't know. And this is the reason that I'm telling people, listen, let's get in and get applied and be ready to go, because when it does fund, we want to be able to pull a trigger. And then there's also something that's called fallout. So let's say somebody does reserve funds, they get reserved, and then something happens to that deal and it falls apart. Well, that money gets put back into the fund. We check that every 2 weeks as to what the allocation is. I mean, just last month there was like $1.3 million that fell out from last year that got refunded. It went away in like 2 days. So we keep a very diligent eye on that. So that's something that I'll keep you in the loop on. Is Hometown Heroes only available in Florida? Yes, it is a Florida program. Is it possible to get 100% financing? Yes, as we discussed before, you can use that percentage towards your down payment and or closing costs. So it is possible to do 100% financing, which is great. Is there a minimum credit score? As we discussed, yes, 640 for all applicants. So if you and your husband or whomever is borrower or co-borrower, both people have to have above a 640 middle score. Hometown Heroes funded limiting each year by state. Yes, the appropriate funding, it does change every year, but as it funds, if we're communicating, I'll make sure that you know that, and we're going to want to reserve those funds as soon as possible. Is there any upfront cost to do an application? No. There's never any upfront cost to do any down payment assistance program. The funds are provided through the state with the Florida Housing Finance Corporation to access the funds. You apply with an authorized participating mortgage lender, which I would be happy to help you. And if there's a upfront credit report fee or something like that, then that just gets put into your closing costs anyways. That's not going to be an out-of-pocket expense. And then lastly, does your employer have to be based in Florida? This is what I was saying before. Yes and no. So headquarters can be somewhere else, but as long as the business is a Florida corporation, the brick and mortar location, or let's say you work at Barnes & Noble or whatever the case may be, as long as you have a place that you work that's in Florida and you live and work here, that's fine. Military veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces are exempt from the first-time home buyer employment requirements. Now, when I say first-time home buyer, which is what this is for, that does not mean this has to be the first time you've ever bought a house. First-time home buyer means you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years. So as long as you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you are considered a first-time home buyer and you would qualify for those funds. You'd like to start your Hometown Heroes loan application. How do I apply for the program? As it says, call me, anytime, 7 days a week to speak to a specialist. We'd be happy to help you here at the 239 Mortgage Team. Contact info is there. Please feel free to call me anytime. If you need a realtor, I can refer. If you have a realtor, great. Either way, we'd love to help you, and we have a team standing by ready to do these and get these funds rolling. And hey, look, it's free money. Let's take advantage of it and be ready to go. So look forward to talking to any of you that need help with this program, and I'll talk to you on the next one. All right, bye-bye.